The wax is still warm in your hand. You can smell it, beeswax mixed with the faintest trace of rose oil. The queen's private scent. Candlelight shivers over the parchment, making them glisten like fresh blood. Outside these carved oak doors, the hall roars with laughter, goblets clinking, lute strings humming under the drunken chorus of nobles. You know the words inside this letter will not just wound, they will end lives, kingdoms, and bloodlines. And the moment you break the seal, you stop being a lady in waiting. You become the queen's shadow, and shadows never live in the light again. It begins, as these things often do, with a scandal that isn't yours. You're 21, daughter of a minor baron whose lands are worth less than the queen's embroidery collection. Yet you have two assets that matter more than wealth. You can read without moving your lips, and you can keep your face still when everyone else is smirking. The queen notices during a hunt. Not the stag you. You pour her wine without spilling a drop, even as a duke accidentally lets his hand rest too long on your sleeve. That night, a lady-in-waiting slips a folded scrap under your door. Her Majesty requests your presence after Vespers. The meeting takes place in her private solar. No guards, just the two of you, and a map of the realm spread across the table like an unmade bed. She asks if you can ride, if you can write, if you can keep secrets even from your own confessor. When you nod, she smiles, not kindly, but like someone closing a trap. Good, she says, because what I require of you is treason, for the right side. The next morning, your name disappears from the palace rolls. You are no longer a lady. You are hers, and she will never return you. Your training does not happen in the open halls of the palace but in shadowed rooms where every object is both lesson and weapon. The first gift the queen gives you is not a necklace or a ring, but a bolt of plain wool, the kind worn by washerwomen. Disguise, she says, is not about costumes. It's about invisibility. A noblewoman in a peasant's dress is more noticeable than a true servant in her own rags. You learn to wear grime like a crown. Next comes the cipher wheel, a humble wooden disc carved by a monastery scribe, its runes shifting with the turn of your wrist. A single sentence in its code could take an enemy clerk hours to puzzle out, and by then the meaning will have already set the castle on fire. Your embroidery hoop becomes a canvas for secrets. The curling vines and delicate blossoms you stitch on handkerchiefs are not mere decoration, they are maps, troop counts, and kill orders, meant for those who can read the patterns. And then there's the ring. Gold, unassuming, with a tiny hidden cavity. The apothecary calls its contents essence of bitter almond. The queen calls it a final word. Fact, the medieval arts of espionage borrowed heavily from merchant caravans and monastic scriptoria. Traders taught you how to smuggle letters in spice sacks. Monks taught you the patience to write them in a hand so tiny it could hide between the lines of a psalm. In your fingers, the tools of deception are not just instruments, they are a language the court will never admit exists. Your apprenticeship in the Queen's service doesn't take place in the gilded throne room or the sunlit library. It unfolds in cramped, windowless chambers where the air smells of ink, oil, and quiet danger. This is not the romance of courtly intrigue. This is the workshop where kingdoms are broken in silence. The first lesson is vanishing without leaving. The queen's spymaster hands you a bundle of rough wool skirts and a stained apron. Your most important disguise, he says. And he's right, fine silk screen for attention. But a servant's rags make you part of the scenery. You learn how to stoop like a laundress, speak with the clipped vowels of a scullery maid, and carry trays without betraying the steady hand of someone who could just as easily carry a dagger. Then there's the cipher wheel, two interlocked wooden discs, etched with letters in 3 languages. Rotate them just so, and a love poem becomes a battle plan. Misalign them, and it's meaningless drivel. You practice until your fingers can spin it under a cloak in a crowded hall, your lips moving silently with each letter as if you're whispering a prayer. Your embroidery hoop follows. The queen's ladies may gossip about the beauty of your stitches, never guessing that each curling vine is a river bend, each blossom a garrison post, each delivered not a warning. These handkerchiefs pass from noblewoman to noblewoman, their messages hiding in plain sight on linen that smells faintly of rosewater. Finally, the ring, a small, warm weight on your finger. The gem unscrews to reveal a hollow chamber, no bigger than a teardrop. holding a smear of pale paste. The apothecary calls it essence of bitter almond. The queen calls it insurance. Uray told it can silence a man in less than a minute or save you from the torture chamber if ever Uray caught. Fact, medieval espionage was built from the skills of others. Traders taught smugglers tricks. Letters hidden in spice jars or sewn into the lining of saddle straps. Monks taught patience and precision, writing orders in letters so tiny they could hide between the lines of a psalm. Every tool you carry is borrowed from another world, repurposed to keep this one from burning. And in your hands, these objects are more than instruments of survival. They are the alphabet of a language spoken only in the dark. The palace teaches you faster than any tutor could. In the queen's world, war is waged with laughter, wine, and the careful placement of a fan. Here, in the golden-lit banquet hall, surrounded by jeweled collars and flickering candelabras, you are both invisible and everywhere at once. You master the art of drifting between clusters of courtiers. Your presence unnoticed but your ears sharp. A spilled goblet. An accident to most, an opportunity to you. While heads turn toward the commotion, your fingers slide a folded parchment from the Duke of Ashford's sleeve, tucking it beneath your own. Lip reading becomes second nature. Across the hall, two men exchange words under the din of a minstrel's lute. You catch them, troop movements. A winter march, a name whispered like a prayer and a threat in one. You don't need to hear the rest, you know enough to chart a man's downfall. During the royal hunt, you're not there to ride or cheer the kill. You're there in the queen's rest tent, pouring wine for noblewomen as their husbands discuss treaties and betrayals outside. One glance at the tent flap tells you exactly when to lift a corner of parchment from an unattended satchel, replacing it with a scrap of cloth embroidered to look like a mistake. Even the ladies' chambers are battlegrounds, perfumed air, jewels spread like offerings. Mirrors catching every flicker of candlelight. You sit at the queen's side while rival noblewomen trade compliments sharp enough to draw blood. A single question, feigned curiosity about a necklace's origin, and suddenly they're telling you where their husbands travel, when they'll be gone, and who will be keeping their beds warm in their absence. The court is a theater, and you've learned the script so well you can improvise your own lines. Your weapon is not the dagger hidden in your sleeve, it's the knowledge that every smile hides a secret, and every secret is yours for the taking. Serving as the queen's spy is not a career, it's a wager you place with your life every morning. The rewards are intoxicating. A whisper from you can alter treaties, avert wars, or topple ministers too arrogant to suspect. The soft voice beside the queen is their undoing. You dine with dukes, stroll through rose gardens meant only for monarchs, and are given jewels whose value could ransom a city, sometimes late at night. You stand at the palace window and feel like the most powerful person in the realm because you know the truths that keep it from burning, but power here is as fragile as a wineglass in a storm. One misplaced word, one wrong glance, one letter intercepted, and the same queen whose life you've guarded will deny you ever existed. You will not be exiled or imprisoned, you will be erased. Your chamber emptied before dawn, your name swallowed in silence. Your body buried where no hound could find it. The work is a constant balancing act, charm without attachment, influence without arrogance, knowledge without vanity. You live between truth and treason, where loyalty is tested not once, but every breath, and the cruel irony, the better you are, the less they remember you, because the perfect spy leaves no shadow behind. It begins with a chessboard. The queen's fingers hover over the black queen piece, sliding it forward one space, an unspoken signal. You've seen this before. It means tonight, your target is not some distant enemy general, but a man seated just 3 places from the queen herself, a foreign envoy whose smile hides a dagger sharper than steel. He's here to sign an alliance, one that will bind the kingdom's throat in silk before the blade falls. Your task is simple in words, lethal in execution. Remove him before the ink dries. During the feast, you drift like smoke, refilling goblets, exchanging pleasantries, laughing softly at jests you don't hear. Beneath the table, your slipper nudges a vial of powdered venom into the folds of the queen's napkin. She never looks at you, but when she dabs her lips, the toxin is already transferred to his cup. And yet, the move is riskier than poison. It's politics. If this fails, the kingdom could spiral into war, and your death will be the first price paid. The envoy lifts the cup, smiles at the queen, and drinks. The queen moves her chess piece again. Check. You expect the envoy to falter, to clutch his throat, to provide you with the satisfaction of a clean victory. Instead, he toasts the queen and winks at you. That's when you see her cross the hall, leaning in the archway, the rival spy mistress from the enemy court. You've never heard her footsteps, never caught her scent, yet she's here, wearing your smile like a mask she stole. Your mind races through the possibilities. She's switched the cups. She's already turned the queen, or worse, she's working for both of you, playing a deeper game you were never invited to join. The queen's eyes flick toward you for the briefest second, but it's not the look of a commander to her loyal shadow. It's the cool appraisal of a ruler deciding whether a piece on the board has outlived its usefulness. That night, there's no summons to your chamber. No candlelight. No orders. Just silence. In the world of spies, silence is a loaded weapon. You don't sleep, you pack. Because in your line of work, loyalty is a language only fools speak fluently. You vanish from the court like a rumor losing its voice. By dawn, your name is scrubbed from the palace ledgers. The servants swear they've never seen you. Even the queen's hounds, once eager for your scent, turn away as if you never existed. Weeks later, you hear whispers in a port tavern. A phantom hand guided the queen through her last treaty negotiations, ensuring her victory. They don't mention your name, but they describe your handwriting, your choice of cipher, your way of folding a seal so no one could break it without you knowing. You realize then you haven't been erased, you've been filed away. The queen's asset, kept in the dark until needed. And one day, a writer will come with a letter marked only with a single chess piece. When that day arrives, you'll return to the candlelit chamber, wax seal in hand, ready to topple kingdoms again. Because spies don't retire. They wait. And the most dangerous piece on the board is the one they think is gone. If you've walked these shadowed halls with me, you know there are more secrets left to tell. Subscribe now, and when the next seal breaks, you'll be the first to know.